Welcome to the Movies of the Damn podcast. My name is Kyle Grant, and I'm sitting here with my friend and published horror author, John Hunt. If you enjoy what you hear here today, please check out our Facebook page and follow us on both Instagram and Twitter, @DamnedMovies. Email us any questions, comments, and suggestions to moviesofthedamned@gmail.com. For further details on John's published works, please visit his blog, johnhuntfiction.wordpress.com. Today, we'll be discussing Sam Raimi's 1981 film, Evil Dead. The movie follows Ash and his four college friends vacationing at an isolated cabin in the woods. During their stay, they find the Book of the Dead and an archaeologist's tape recordings in the cellar. The reading of the book and playing of the tape then unleash an evil, demonic presence that begins taking over Ash's friends. Ash struggles to fight them off as they begin dying and coming back from the dead before his eyes. Ash seems doomed, and in a final effort to save himself, throws the book into the fire. This causes his dead friends to decompose. With Ash seemingly winning, he leaves the cabin, but the movie ends as an unseen entity seems to attack him from behind. John, opening thoughts on the movie?
Okay, so I love this movie. I still love this movie. I don't know what to say about it. It's like the definitive, maybe the original Cabin in the Woods movie. There's so much there. I enjoyed so much of this. I was curious though, because I haven't watched it in years, whether or not I would still feel as powerful as I did for it, right? So, and I did. It could be associations from the past, but I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. I think it's excellent.
One thing that you said there that was really interesting is that you hadn't watched it in years. And that's the same for me. I hadn't seen this movie in a long, long time. And as I was watching it back a few days ago, the first thing that struck me is I am misremembering this movie. Because it does not start off well. And I'm like, oh my gosh, is this a bad movie that I've been talking about how great it is? But then, and I think the comment I sent to you, I said, John, I've never seen a movie that starts off so badly and becomes so great.
Okay, let's use a popular term to go into that. Let's unpack that.
Okay.
What is that? What was so bad about the opening for this? For you, anyways.
The opening near car crash.
Yep.
I thought it just felt very cheesy to me, especially when they do kind of the close up of the one girl like screaming through the windshield. I'm just like, oh my gosh. Like it was just like I felt it was so bad at that point. That really kind of made me cringe a little bit. Like the bridge part where the car kind of gets stuck on the bridge and it almost felt like I thought that didn't do it for me. They're sitting around the table and the cellar door just swings open. Like I'm like, am I misremembering this thing?
So I watched it, and as soon as it starts, like with the camera coming down onto the car and all that fun stuff, and or focusing in closely onto the car, and you see inside, and there's Bruce Campbell who plays Ash, with his unibrow, and
he's a beauty, by the way.
Yeah, and he's just awesome. And then the friends. What do you think? Early 20s?
I think they're supposed to be college age kids.
Yeah. Okay. So then they're like singing in the car, like a group sing, like you would around a campfire. Like that just wouldn't happen in real life, right? So it's like I was just smiling. I was like, this is classic Sam Raimi. Like he's so, but I think it's his first film. But like if you watched his later films, like Darkman, and he did the Spider-Man series, like with Tobey, like. You could see his film in it, like the way he shoots films, like you were talking about the girl screaming and stuff like that. That's exactly what he does. And then you remember, so at that scene where the car was about to crash, so that guy, the steering wheel spins out of his hand.
Yeah.
And he grabs hold of it, and then behind him, like over his left shoulder, the driver's left shoulder, is Ash screaming, and then another head is in there screaming. It was like such a weird shot.
Very weird.
Yeah, but it was like so Sam Raimi. I'm like, this is so fun.
Like I almost want to describe it as ridiculous.
Yeah. That's what he does. So he borders on the ridiculous, but it's still like, I don't know. I was still engaged, man.
Oh no, for sure, right?
Yeah.
it just caught me off guard because I didn't remember, like, when I'd seen it years ago, I didn't remember having those same impressions as I
Yeah.
did now.
Well, I saw it as a kid, right? And as a kid, like, it's one of the few movies. Well, that's not true. I was scared a lot as a kid, but this one terrified me.
Oh,
Right?
and again, I'm being harsh on this thing, right?
Yeah, yeah,
One more harsh part before I can tell you where the movie turned for me, but the kind of like tree rape scene thing.
yeah,
I thought that was pretty ridiculous.
yep,
But then again, I'm being harsh in this film. The thing, where it turned for me,
yeah,
and even think of it right now, I have goosebumps. The hairs are kind of going up on my arm here. Is when they're kind of she's trying to be psychic and predict the cards.
yes,
And then the one girl starts screaming out the right answers in
Yeah.
that weird demonic voice.
yeah.
Like that does it for me. Like I have the shivers right now thinking
Yeah.
of it. It was so creepy, so terrifying. And then from that point on, everything was near gold.
I was like it was like a match was lit and boom, this thing just took off, right? Like it was so good, so good.
And I just looking at it now, I'm like, how did it start off so low and then it just exploded?
I liked all that stuff though. And you know what I mean? Like so here's the thing, like you're looking at it with 2019 eyes, right? So
100%.
yeah, so and that's fine. But that's the type of filming back then. There's that in the character development. There's a naivety to it that I didn't have a problem with, right? Like that's kind of what you expected from that type of opening of that movie, right? So you expect these like happy-go-lucky kids who are just kind of goofy, and you know what I mean. Like I expected that, so I didn't have a problem with that.
And it's interesting that you say that because again, going back through my memory banks here, I don't remember having these same issues when I first watched it. So
Oh, you
what you're
wouldn't have,
saying
yeah.
right now is making a lot of sense.
Yeah. So and absolutely. So, but for me, it's like, okay, what makes art, or because this is art, I think so. Anyways, what makes art exceptional, right?
Exceptional to me are like different creative things, like the point of view shot from the cellar.
Mm-hmm.
When the girl's trapped in the cellar.
That was great.
And her head is kind of the camera looking in, and she's
Yeah.
kind of like watching them.
She's watching everyone,
And they're
Yeah.
discussing like what to do. And I'm like, this is such a well shot, cool scene right
That's
here.
a great viewpoint and a great way to progress the story forward. Is because it's such an interesting shot, so interesting, right? So and you couldn't look away from it. But what I was going to say is that it's the longevity of it, right? So how old is this film? I know you have it on your phone there.
Oh yeah. 1981 is when it came out. So it was filmed earlier than that.
Yeah, so like that's a long time ago, right?
Yep.
And it's
Almost 40 years.
Yeah, right? And it still resonates with people. It's still awesome. So for me, like this is just it's such a good film. Such a good film. And those other parts that they're talking about, they made me smile. Like real, I know they might have made you cringe, but they made me smile the exact opposite, right? So I enjoy everything
Maybe
it
gave you some nostalgia almost.
Yeah, for sure, right? For sure, the nostalgia, because I remember how effective this film was. It scared the crap out of me as a kid, like really scared me. And now, I don't get scared by much. I can count on one hand the movies that have scared me in the past 10 years, right? But that's just oversaturation, right? Because I just watch all this stuff. But this one just it just made me smile. It made me happy.
It's the stuff that gets me is this like, and it always does this like demonic possession.
Yeah.
Right? And then like the one scene where kind of Scotty comes back in and Linda's sitting there cross-legged, just kind of like laughing.
Yeah.
Buddy,
I know.
That's what nightmares are made of, and she's just got that huge smile on her face.
She did a great job
almost
there.
like a Joker type smile, like Joker from the Batman type of thing.
Holy crap, that's amazing. Because Ethan was down there watching it with me, and I said that exactly to him. I go, she'd make a good woman Joker.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
And so like that freaks me out. And then how about the like, we're gonna get
that
you.
was my favorite part too.
Wow,
so good. So
yeah,
good.
and so just all that stuff, right? And so like that's what really like that demonic possession, and then how like the entity or whatever is kind of like messing with Ash.
Yeah.
And at one point she's possessed, at another point she's not possessed.
Yeah.
So then he's like, what do I do here?
Yeah.
And then he knows he has to dismember her, but he can't bring himself to do
Yeah.
it. So obviously she comes back. Like, a lot of good stuff there.
I know. I like it when he's strapping her down to that bench and then he couldn't go through with it, eh? Like that's good character development, good character progression. It's just like I don't even know. Like it's not like it's fairly a simple movie. You put a bunch of friends in a cabin and have demons take them over, but I wouldn't say it would be simple in execution because like there's a lot of complex, subtle things going on here that brought this movie to life, and it just made it as powerful as it was, and it just, once again, just a simple story concept, but done so well.
And I think one of the reasons why this succeeded so well is Sam Raimi kept it simple in parts.
Yeah.
So it almost reminded me a little bit of Jaws a little bit. And so follow me on this, where with Jaws, you didn't see the shark a ton.
Yeah.
And I think if you had have seen the shark more, it would have looked a little fake or something like that, might have ruined the movie. And so this, when we're talking about that great point of view scene, kind of from the cellar, you are making things seem so scary and so wild without really needing any special effects there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he kept it simple because he knew his limitations in this movie because he didn't have a lot to work with.
No, I know.
This movie was made on a shoestring budget.
For sure.
The budget came in around $350,000 to $400,000.
Yeah.
Which is nothing
Well,
for making a film.
Yeah, in 1981 dollars, is that nothing though?
Yeah, it's still very low.
Wow, eh?
Still very low. It for the budget, it did well. The box office, they said it made $2.4 million in the U.S.
Yeah.
and then made $29 million worldwide. So that's a great return off of that budget, right? And
Yeah.
obviously, it spawned a huge franchise,
Oh, sure.
right? 2 sequels, kind of like that more modern, like remake almost, like
Yeah.
almost remake / like parallel / sequel. Like you don't, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? TV series, comic series. A musical. Have you seen
Yeah.
the musical?
I haven't seen the musical. I knew there was one though.
All my friends who have gone to see the musical say it is amazing.
Oh, I believe
And
it.
last time I was in Vegas, we had actually all planned to go and see it,
Yeah.
but it wasn't there anymore.
Man, I'm really interested to see it now.
There's actually a section you can sit in called the splatter zone, where if you sit in these scenes, you're gonna get like water or blood on you or
That's
stuff
great.
like that.
I like it when people do that stuff, right? That's so good.
Well, you know what? If it does come back to near us here in Toronto, then we'll have to check it
Yeah,
out.
for sure. I'm in.
And if even like I know it's not officially a movie, but if even something we could do a podcast on, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Why not, right?
Why not?
The overall though, I would say if I gotta have another kind of takeaway from the film, special effects were okay, not great. But again, I'm being overly critical because I'm looking at it in a 2019 eye.
You know what? I almost have to disagree with you on that one. So maybe some of them weren't as polished, but this movie made me cringe, right? So the cringe moments means to me the special effects were effective.
But is the special effects making you cringe, or is it like the demonic possession, like great storyline stuff?
I don't really. I like, obviously movies with demonic possession and devil stuff like that, right? But they're not my favorite. Like they don't make me cringe, or they don't make me as afraid as
me.
Well, yeah, right? So what I mean is like, so the pencil in the ankle, did that not make you cringe?
Yes.
Right? Or when she bit her own hand off. That made me cringe.
No, fair enough. Okay,
right?
okay,
so
okay.
there was a lot of scenes in there that I'm like, holy crap, with what this shoestring budget, because I knew it wasn't made with a lot of money. I think they did a great job with some of that stuff, right? I think they did, because it actually made me cringe. It made me go, oh my God, right? When you're watching it, you're like, I thought, and that's very effective when they can do that.
Well, because as well, too, there were some good jump scares in there. And, and unexpected things, too, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure, like...
I don't jump, though.
Yeah. Oh, Mr. Tough Guy over here.
No,
but
once again, it's oversaturation.
Yeah.
Right?
But from a 1981 standard, and you can't put yourself back in that mindset back then. But
I would have jumped. I probably would have had my head under a pillow half the time.
Oh, yeah. To see someone bite their own hand off in 1981.
Yeah.
To see that pencil to the ankle, right?
Yeah. Right? And then, and you also had the, the knife going through, and the dismemberment scene where
and the body parts are still moving
yeah,
around.
right. Like, come on, man, that's some good
Okay,
stuff.
so
right?
I'm being overly critical there.
Yeah,
so,
like so you know.
so it's not 2019, but I should realize what they're working with.
Yeah, but okay, the only part I would say is like, when they first put I think her name is Shelley down in the basement. Is it Shelley or was it Linda?
In the cellar there, yeah, the one who spawned that great point of view camera as she's kind of like watching them from the cellar.
Yeah, so I think what was her name though? Was it Cheryl?
You know what? It's on the tip of my tongue, but I'm missing it too. Anyways,
Okay, so Ash's girlfriend was Linda. Scott's girlfriend was Shelley. So I forget this other girl's, but she was down in the cellar. And remember the part where he's hitting her with the back of the gun before he slams it shut? She looked like a puppet there, right? So I was like, okay, like, I would say that was the only part where I was like, okay, this is not good.
that was the only part that bugged
Yeah,
me.
that didn't even bug me. It's just like the special effects weren't worthy to the standards of the movie already set, right? So it was like lower than what the movie had already done. But it didn't bother me at all.
I almost wonder that if he had more money, if maybe the movie wouldn't have been as good, because maybe he had to improvise.
Well, that's what I think Evil Dead 2 is like, almost like a remake with more money, right? Because he did change some stuff in it, but it was essentially almost the same.
But it almost becomes a little bit more of like closer to a horror comedy.
Yeah, it goes. And then Army of Darkness fully goes into the horror comedy aspect, right? No, that's a fair point as well. Except that you could see the upgrade in special effects with the money from Evil Dead 1 to Evil Dead 2. But once again, I thought Evil Dead 1, the special effects were very good because they were so gritty and visceral, and they weren't heavily reliant on whatever technology they had available at the time, right? So like, even like
but he couldn't even use the best technology available at the time.
That's what I mean. So it's like he smeared stuff on the skin to make the skin look gritty. Like, that was so effective to me. Like, I think it looked great. And then you look at, if you remember Evil Dead 2, right, where it's like, he actually cuts up his girlfriend in that one, and she's all dismembered and stuff, but she puts herself back together in that little weird dance sequence. You remember that part?
Yeah.
Like, that was
weird.
Yeah, right. And it wasn't the special effects. I don't think, even though he couldn't have done that in Evil Dead 1. They didn't look nearly as good as I think, anyways, as the special effects in Evil Dead 1. I thought it was so much better.
No, fair enough.
And just because of that, because of the grittiness, right? Because gore and horror is essentially gritty. So when you can bring that to the screen in an effective way, which I think he did, it makes it all the more realistic and entertaining, and therefore scary.
Oh, okay. I hear what you're saying, and you're making a lot of good points there. To pivot a little bit, one thing I wanted to ask you about: thoughts on the ending. Where just like it seems like he against impossible odds he wins, and then as he's leaving, this kind of like entity attacks him from the back.
Yes.
How did you feel about that?
So, here's the thing with this film. There were no rules established.
Oh, tons of unanswered questions. They didn't really do a good job of really explaining things. And that's not necessarily a problem, though.
No, like, once again, like, I usually like things unexplained, right? To a certain degree, though. The overall narrative needs to be logical. But when some things are unexplained, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. However, me and Ethan talked about this, actually. It was like, one thing they didn't explain is, how do the demons transfer to people? Why did it not transfer to Ash?
Yeah.
Right? So why was everyone else taken over but not Ash?
Yeah, it's like they decided they wanted to torture him.
That's all I ever said to Ethan was like, okay, well, if they took over everyone, there would be no one to torment. But they didn't explain that was a reason why.
Yeah.
Right? It was more like the demons were there to take over everyone, really, and the whole torment thing was just a secondary. It's like their entertainment, because they've been exposed to the flesh again. But once again, that's all.
But then
supposition.
But then he defeats them by throwing the book in the fire.
Yeah.
But yet they're not defeated.
Yeah. So I don't.
You see what I'm saying?
No, I do. I know. Like it. So he he defeated like. But you don't even know what does that mean? Does it? So I looked at it like this way. So he stopped. What it did is it didn't defeat them. It just stopped the possession of their friends.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So.
But then the force is still out there.
Yeah, for sure. Right? Because you saw the demon hands come out. That was also an awesome scene. The demon hands coming out of his friends. That was so cool.
Yeah.
But you saw that happen, right? So they were being pulled back or taken out of wherever they, their friends' bodies and returning to wherever they came from. But it doesn't mean they were necessarily destroyed. I didn't really have a problem with it. The ending, that really didn't really raise any questions for me. The only question, like I said, was raised was like, how was the demon sources transferred?
Yeah, and exactly.
Right. So I don't know. There's no real rule for that.
And there was no real rule, but I think that what we're saying about they wanted to kind of torture the people and play with them a little bit, like that's valid because you see that throughout. Because it wasn't like as soon as someone became possessed, they became a killing machine. Yeah. You saw like the scene I described where she's sitting there cross-legged, just kind of laughing and smiling. Yeah. Like that was just to torment them. Yeah. And so yeah, there was that torment thing, and if they just all got taken over, there's no one to torment at that point. Yeah.
So I know, but it still doesn't seem. Once again, like, and we've talked about this before, I don't like making guesses on stuff like that, right? And it's just like, usually the story should either resolve that for you, or if there are unanswered questions. There are unanswered questions that don't matter.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Right?
I was just about to finish your sentence there, and I said, if there's an unanswered question, then it shouldn't matter.
Yeah, right. So, but like afterwards, if you're doing the whole raising your eyebrow or cocking an eyebrow, going right, like.
And you know what, my friend who I was watching this movie with, he said exactly that. He said, they never really explained why this was happening. Yeah. It just that it kind of happens.
Well, no, they did the whole why thing, right? When you say certain words with the book, it releases the demons, right? So
yeah, I guess, yeah.
No, they did that because remember the guy was talking.
It releases the demons, but then, like you said, they don't explain how they go from person to person, who they pick, that type of thing.
But so know what I also liked about this movie, and I thought was pretty clever. I don't know if it was intended or not, but it's like. So when they're driving to the cabin and you're talking about the bridge, right? You didn't like that bridge scene?
I thought it was stupid.
Right, where it's like danger bridge and they, the piece of wood and all that type of stuff. Normally that's foreshadowing, right? Where it's like, okay, well, they're going to try to drive out of there and their tire's going to get stuck or like that. So you get that inclination, right? That there's some sort of foreshadowing where that bridge is going to be a key piece, or that bridge being dangerous and not well made is going to be a key piece, but it wasn't, right? When they went back, the bridge was completely destroyed. Like, there's no crossing that. They didn't even try to get on it because there's no point in that. So I thought that was like, you're watching it, and if you understand story progression, you'd be like, okay, that's foreshadowing.
They're coming back to this.
Yes, right? And they didn't. I was like, that's pretty good. I like that.
Yeah, really it was almost like a misdirection a little bit, right? Like.
It's not even though it's like a misdirection, but it wasn't, because it did bring you back to the bridge. It's not in the same way that the foreshadowing suggested it would.
Interesting.
Right? So I like that.
No, interesting. Yeah. Fair enough. Do you know what the original title of this movie was? The working title?
No. Book of the Dead?
Well, you did know the answer then.
Oh, I just guessed.
Did you? Yeah, no, it was originally titled Book of the Dead. Oh. But when it was kind of before they released it, they're like, no, that sounds kind of boring. Books are boring. And then so they changed it to Evil Dead, which is I just think is pretty funny, pretty ridiculous.
Pretty funny,
right? But I agree. Evil Dead does have a better ring to it.
It
than
sounds
Book of the
way
Dead,
better,
right?
for sure.
And so sometimes these production companies, these studios, do get it right?
Yeah, for sure.
As far as marketing goes.
Yeah.
Rotten Tomatoes, 95.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're right there as well?
I'm even a little higher.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not as high.
Yeah.
I'm probably high 80s.
Okay.
But I think my issues are just like the 2019 eye.
Okay.
So high 80, I think for an 81 film, high 80s is still a great grade.
Yeah, I still I don't know. I think just think of how many films were influenced by this one. Just think of how many different directorial shots were influenced by this. Just think of how many films by the special effects were affected by this film. I think it's I think it's 95, 96.
Just because of how much it influenced everything
well,
else.
not what and why do things influence other things?
Because it's epic.
Right. So that's why. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff going on with this, and that was new and presented with a different directorial eye, right? Because he has a distinct style, right?
For sure he does.
Yeah, and it's fun to watch. It's entertaining to watch, and I think it's for sure well above 95.
Another thing when I was doing my research on this film that I picked up afterwards, and I actually have to watch it again because of this, they say something crazy like that Ash has something like 6 different hairstyles throughout the film. and it takes place in like less than a 24-hour period, right?
Well, what do they mean by that? I don't even he combs it differently.
I'll have to watch it again.
I think that's kind of silly. Like you just push your hand through your hair, hair changes. I wouldn't know.
Well,
I haven't had hair in a long time.
obviously, like the changes are distinct enough that it's like noticeable. It wasn't noticeable enough for me to pick up on it.
Yeah, me either.
But now I want to watch it back just to see that.
That's funny. I like Bruce Campbell too. He's a really fun guy to watch, man.
Oh,
he's so
and
good.
This movie made him.
Yeah.
Like he's been in everything since then, right?
Yeah.
Like all the sequels and now the television series. Like
yeah. And what's that other cult classic that a lot of people really love? Bubba Hotep, where it's Bruce Campbell and he plays Elvis.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So that was also cult classic. A lot of people really love.
The one thing I wanted to ask you as well is and maybe we'll do this film on another podcast, but just briefly, the remake.
Yes.
Did you feel that the modern remake lived up to this one? Did you enjoy that film? And I know it's obviously been probably a little while since you've seen it. Any kind of brief thoughts on that?
You know what? For a remake, because normally I'm not a huge fan of them. If the first movie was really well done, I'm not a huge fan of remakes.
Yeah.
That being said, I thought the remake was awesome.
I did too. I liked it.
I really, really liked it. I was so happy with it, actually.
Yeah, and I thought they did a good job with it too. And obviously, I can't give you too many deep details, but we'll have to watch that again. Maybe we'll do a podcast.
I'd love to do that one.
Yeah, that would be a good one to do. Yeah. So the other question I wanted for you, and this is obviously putting you right on the spot, is this your favorite Sam Raimi movie?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, this is number 1.
Yeah, but I also really love Darkman. You ever see that?
You know what? I think I did years ago.
Yeah.
But it's like there's no like distinct memories from it that's popping up in my head right now.
I really enjoyed that film. It was like it's Liam Neeson. It was kind of ridiculous, but it's ridiculous in a fun and awesome way. I really enjoyed that movie. But that this is Evil Dead is still heads and shoulders my favorite. But Darkman is pretty awesome. I think it's if anyone likes Evil Dead and Sam Raimi, they should, and they haven't seen that one, they should really give it a shot.
But it's pretty crazy when you think of it, right? Because you would think with most people like in life they get better at things as they go.
Yeah.
Where Sam Raimi hits this like out of the park home run.
Yeah.
And then kind of never catches that lightning in a bottle again, so to speak, right?
It's very few people can hit the standard that they already set when they come out of the gate that hot. Like, how many can you name, right? Like, I can name Quentin Tarantino. He can do it. Steven Spielberg. He can do it.
Yeah.
James Cameron can do it.
Yeah.
Right? So it's very few. There's not too many. Orson Welles, he can do it.
Yeah, you're right. Like a lot of these directors will have other than the ones you just named, they kind of have like a awesome movie or a masterpiece, and then it's I don't know if it's the pressure or like that's just been that was just their movie, right?
Yeah, or some are just better than others, right? So or go up and down where they'll have like an awesome movie, a mediocre one, return to awesomeness. You know what I mean? Like there's
all over the map.
Yeah, right? So it's just the way it is, I guess, right? And I think that's just life, really.
No, and that makes sense. Well, buddy, anything else to add about this one?
Love this movie. Watch it.
Definitely check it out. Check out the remake as well. Good movie watching.
Yeah.
Well, please check out our Facebook page and follow us on both Twitter and Instagram @DamnMovies. We want to hear what you thought of today's podcast. and any suggestions you have, especially in terms of what movies you'd like us to discuss next. Send us an email to moviesofthedamned@gmail.com. Please also check out John's full-length novels. His first 2 novels, Dollhouse and The Tracker, are Amazon bestsellers, and his new novella, Balance, is also available on Amazon. For further details on John's other published works, please visit his blog, johnhuntfiction.wordpress.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, everyone, thanks again for listening. Please, if you have a moment or so, just leave a like or give us a rating or whatever it is you want to do. Would be awesome and take little to no time to do. And also check out my books. They're doing really well. Dollhouse recently hit #1 in Canada for horror fiction. Yeah. So, give those a read and let us know what you think, because we're always interested. And if you have any movie suggestions, just like Kyle said, reach out to us and we'll give it a shot. So thank you. Have a great week.